That's why you got it's like Yayo talking about, Jay don't take care of it. I don't need Jay to go on tour.
You look like you need to be taken care of. You broke. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something. I got a G for every bump in your face. Dang.
Because your man 50 said you're taking too long to respond to Jim Jones.
You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 send you an ounce or something, yo.
You do need
You
that
might
help.
need
That's
2
why-
ounces.
First of all, I want to shout out Jomo for the promo. I want to shout out Memphis Bleek and Nori, because Nori is pushing Memphis Bleek. And yo, look, 3, 4 in the morning, Nori's texting me, yo, keep the peace. Because niggas know she could get ugly, but I just be chilling. I don't want to catch a tag stone case or nothing like that. But what I'm saying to you is like, when people seeing you level up, they got evil eyes. That's why I pray every night to God. So as for Jimmy talking to me, I look at that as crazy, because you saying you better than Nas. I don't know who's smoking coke or sniffing coke here, me or you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at the analytics, when people when they talked about me, the numbers went up. You trying to push a podcast. So I understand. I am the algorithm. So what you got to do, you got to blow a shot at me. When you do the most numbers, they going to talk about you.
I'm saying he's just talking mad shit though.
Alright. Don't have that shit up.
Like you ain't even like that.
I'm not going to drink on. I'm not valid for that. $25,000 bottle.
Wait.
I'm not valid for that.
Nah, get that nigga the other one.
That's it. That's it.
Yayo, what's good?
Melee gang is coming.
What's good, Yayo? My man, what's up, bro?
Man.
Wait on here.
50, what's good, man?
Everything, man.
Everything, that's right.
Everything kicked off during a podcast taping. Jim Jones, who usually stays calm even when conversations get heated, suddenly lost his patience. His face tightened, his voice got sharp, and the room's energy changed in an instant. Memphis Bleek, who is known for keeping interviews relaxed, didn't expect the mood to flip like that. The talk was supposed to be about music, respect, and the culture they came from, but within minutes, it turned into something much more intense. Jim spoke with a force that made everyone in the room freeze, and people watching later felt that same punch through the screen. This moment didn't come out of nowhere. Years of quiet tension, little comments, side remarks, and comparisons had been piling up. When Yayo's name entered the conversation, it pushed Jim over the edge. He didn't just reply. He released emotions that had been sitting inside him for years. You could hear the pride and frustration layered in every word, as if he was finally letting out everything he had been holding back. But the anger wasn't tied to one single moment. There was a long story behind it, a mix of loyalty, rivalry, and old issues that never fully faded. To understand why Jim reacted like this, you have to look at the history that built up to this moment. Long before the podcast blew up, tension had been growing. Yayo wasn't making random comments out of boredom. He had a serious issue that traced back to Jay-Z. Over time, he made remarks in different interviews, suggesting that Jay tried to block 50 Cent from performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. Yayo kept that story alive, and even though some people brushed it off, the ones who knew the politics behind the scenes understood how heavy it really was. Memphis Bleek stood on the other side of that history. He wasn't loud or flashy about it. He had been with Jay-Z since the beginning, loyal from the Rockefeller days, always showing respect and moving carefully behind the scenes. So when Yayo said Bleek never shined, it wasn't just a shot at Bleek. It was a comment about the system he was part of, the loyalty he lived by, and the years he spent holding down his position without complaint. Then there was the bigger feud lingering in the background, G-Unit versus Dipset. Their rivalry goes back decades. 50 Cent against Cam'ron and Jim Jones wasn't just celebrity drama. It was connected to the streets, neighborhoods, and egos. Yayo knew how to hit the right spots, and when he repeated those comments publicly, it wasn't just trash talk, it was adding fuel to old fire. But everything changed when Yayo mentioned someone people thought he would never bring up, Stack Bundles. That moment raised the situation from simple tension to real emotion. The second Stack's name came out, the atmosphere shifted completely. Yayo claimed that Jim Jones left Stack behind when he needed support the most. That accusation landed hard. Anyone familiar with Jim's history knew Stack Bundles wasn't just another artist on his roster. He was like family. They had toured together, recorded together, and built trust through real-life experiences. Suggesting Jim failed him wasn't a small comment. It was a direct hit at the bond they had. Stack Bundles had talent that stood out. He had style, confidence, and ideas that made people believe he was going to be a major force in New York music. People often said he was on track to be a global star, someone who could walk runways, headline shows, and influence the next wave of artists. But life in the streets brought danger, and tragedy struck before he could escape the environment he grew up in. When Yayo said Jim didn't move fast enough to protect Stack, the internet paused. Fans, artists, and people from the industry took a moment to process what was said. Then, discussions erupted everywhere. Some had whispered about this for years, but hearing it spoken publicly changed everything. And for Jim, there was no ignoring it anymore. He had to respond, because in his world, loyalty isn't something you let people question. So when he finally spoke, the emotion was impossible to miss. The second Yayo's name was mentioned, Jim's expression shifted. His jaw tightened, his stare sharpened, and his tone became heavy with everything he'd been carrying. He wasn't just defending his own reputation, he was speaking for his entire crew, for Harlem, and for Stack Bundle's memory. He reminded people that he built everything from scratch. He made it clear that no one had ever fed him or carried his team. He dismissed the rumors and criticism as nothing more than noise. His message was simple: his crew stands strong, and no outside voice gets to rewrite their story. His reaction wasn't about showing off money or lifestyle, it was about loyalty. It was about proving that respect comes from standing by your people, not from who signs your checks. But as the conversation heated up, his response turned into a full-force declaration of strength. Listeners could feel the pride and the pain behind his words. Just when it seemed like the moment might cool down, Yayo threw out one more comment, this time aimed at Jim's circle. He suggested that the people around Jim weren't winning the way Jim claimed. That wasn't a shot at success, it was a shot at loyalty. And for Jim, that was the line that couldn't be crossed. His emotions spilled over again. He wasn't only protecting himself, he was protecting the code he lives by, his community, and the people who have stood by him. His words sharpened, the energy rose, and the conflict grew even bigger than before. The tension in the room was sharp enough that people watching online felt it too. Memphis Bleek tried to cool things down, but Jim had already crossed the point of no return. Years of rumors, comparisons, and questions about loyalty had finally pushed him to speak his truth. Every pause, every spike in his voice, every moment he leaned forward showed he wasn't just reacting to one comment, he was standing up for everything he had built. Once that clip hit the internet, it stopped being a simple podcast moment. It spread like wildfire. Fans clipped every second, shared every expression, and turned it into nonstop conversation. Memes were everywhere. Jim sitting forward, eyes blazing, frustration written all over his face. Blogs and YouTube channels broke down the rant frame by frame, treating it like a major cultural event. People immediately chose sides. Some backed Jim, saying he had every right to defend his name. Others supported Yayo, insisting he was saying what others were too afraid to say. Comment sections got loud with debates, old stories resurfaced, and nostalgia mixed with anger as everyone tried to make sense of the tension. Rappers, producers, DJs, and podcasters chimed in too. Some said Yayo crossed a line by bringing up Stack Bundles. Others claimed the conversation needed to happen. The online buzz kept growing, but the streets paid attention in a different way, watching quietly because they remembered the real history behind it. Through all of this, Yayo didn't say a word. No interviews, no responses, nothing. His silence made people even more curious. Meanwhile, Jim kept speaking up, repeating his points, showing emotion, and defending Stack Bundles, Harlem, and his crew with the same fire he had on the podcast. Then Yayo finally made a move, and it stunned everyone. He didn't rant. He didn't drop a track. He posted a single photo of Max B, a name tied to one of Jim Jones's deepest rivalries. No caption, no emojis, just the image. That alone was enough to shake the internet. Within minutes, arguments exploded across social media. Jim's name trended again. Fans dissected the meaning behind the post, calling it disrespectful, clever, strategic, petty, calculated, everything at once. For many, that one picture hit harder than any verbal jab. It was direct but quiet, and it showed Yayo understood exactly where to aim. Jim didn't let it slide. He fired back with a video walking through his block, showing his cars, jewelry, and Harlem pride. He reminded everyone that no post, no comment, no rival could rewrite his story. Every move he made became content, keeping the feud alive and feeding the online storm. Yayo's silent strike showed a different kind of power. He proved that sometimes you don't need to yell to shake a room. A single action, if timed right, can flip the entire conversation. His approach reminded people that influence in hip-hop isn't just about loud moments, it's about knowing when to step forward and when to hold back. Underneath all the drama, a deeper story was forming. This wasn't just two artists trading shots, it was about loyalty, pride, survival, and the code both men grew up following. Jim and Yayo both came out of rough environments. They both built reputations through struggle and consistency. That's why their words and actions carried so much weight. This wasn't entertainment to them, it was personal. Jim's passion for stack bundles wasn't for show. He spoke as someone who has lost people he cared about and who refuses to let anyone twist that history. Everything he said came from years of sacrifice and loyalty, values he considers non-negotiable. Yayo's strategy showed another layer of the culture, the power of timing. His patience, his silence, and that one picture reminded everyone that a well-placed move can speak louder than 1,000 words. By the end of it all, the feud became bigger than the original argument. It turned into a debate about loyalty, respect, and identity. Jim defended his legacy with raw emotion, while Yayo shaped the narrative with precision. Now, the question lands in the viewer's hands. Who do you stand with? Jim, who fought openly to protect his name and the people he loves? Or Yayo, who shifted the entire story with a single calculated move? The discussion is still raging across social media, podcasts, and group chats, and there's no easy answer. What's clear is that this moment is more than gossip. It's a look into how respect, pride, and reputation work in hip-hop, where every word matters and every move echoes louder than people realize. If you want to stay updated as this story keeps unfolding, make sure to stick around. We'll keep you posted with everything that follows.